Hi there, my name is Anita Adefuye. I'm the author of the book Revealed, and that's based on my personal story navigating child sexual abuse, suicide, depression, and how I came out on the other side, and just using that to help others find their voice, but also educate society at large on how to deal with these things and to be allies and show kindness. Anyway, and I'm also the founder of Advanced and Fulfilled. That's a coaching platform where I help racialized Canadians, advance their careers and live fulfilled lives. I'm also the founder of Ladies Arise, and Ladies Arise is a platform of women, to empower women, help them live intentional, purposeful, holistic lives. Quite frankly, I wear a lot of hats, but just right off the bat, those are some of the things that I do. And finally, in addition to the ones I want to mention, I'm also the creative founder of Loud Silences. Loud Silences is a blogging platform that seeks to undo the culture of silence, tied to some of the things that I had personally experienced: sexual violence, mental health issues, and just the things about culture that we need to address and help us move better forward as people. These are just some of the few things that I do that I just want to highlight. And of course, one of the ways that I express on some of these things and communicate what I have to share with my world is through the YouTube videos that I do, which is what I'm bringing to you today. And today I want to talk about something that's, it kind of ties a little bit on um, silence, things that we typically don't want to talk about, but it's there. It bothers us, it worries us, it impacts us. But I also want to tie it a little bit more into also like career. And I just want to share that this question, it's a question that was asked of myself and somebody else, who I had the honor of being co-panel members with at an event recently at my church, where we're just talking to the youth group about navigating and growing in their career and success in academics and career. And last week, Wednesday, the 22nd, was Pink Shirt Day. And I think there's just some opportunities kind of infuse all of those conversations together. And that topic is the topic of racism and navigating racism as a visible minority in Canada or any part of the world where racism or pretty much any form of discrimination, quite frankly. I think that what I want to share today would help everybody learn how to navigate discriminatory experiences and not let that deter you from who you're meant to be and what you're supposed to do. And so the question was, how did I and my other panel member deal with racism, and in spite of racism, if we've ever experienced it, but how do we navigate that and still continue to grow and rise in our career and do excellently well in our academics? Because I went to school here and I'm back to school now, and he's a doctor who had his PhD in Canada here. And to answer that question, I know I provided an answer to that group at the time, but I walked away thinking more about how to, send that message out. All right. And when I think about, last week when it was Pink Shirt Day, racism in and of itself is one of the many faces that bullying can take, right? And so I just want to address that and speak to this. Now, to answer that question, I want to share a quick experience that I had. And the experience that I had was, I don't want to name names, but I remember in one of my former places of work going to an event, and my organization had, partly sponsored this event. And during that event, I looked in the room, and I was the second Black person in the room, and of course, the only Black female. And then there was one other Indigenous person, and then there were about two Chinese people, and the rest of the room was predominantly Caucasians. And now, there were events going on, and then I went in to get a drink, to plug in my phone, and plug in my phone just to let it charge. And I'd met a young man there, and I said to him, "Hey, I want to plug in my phone here. Is it safe for me to charge my phone here so I can just go out and also, just network with people and get to meet people and have a nice conversation with people in the room?" And he said, "That's great, that's fine." So I plugged it in, I went out, chatted a little bit, came back to grab my phone, and also thought, oh, I'll grab a drink. And I walk up to the waiter, who was serving drinks, and I said, "Hey, can I have a drink?" I didn't even ask for an alcoholic drink, to which he responds, um, after serving me the drink, his comment to me was, stay out of jail. And I'm like, okay, stay out of jail. Okay, whatever. And saying I wanted to sit to just, touch my phone. And I realized that, oh, he wasn't the same person I had told that I wanted to plug my phone to charge. So, so I thought out of courtesy, just to let him know that, hey, um, I'm leaving and I'm leaving with my phone, but you weren't here when I plugged it in. So say to the guy who was here before, if you find him, that thanks to him and for letting me plug my phone, and that I'm taking my phone away with me. So he doesn't get worried about, did someone steal her phone while I wasn't watching, right? To which this, nice man says, yeah, I'm just glad to know that it really is your phone. And I'm like, okay, okay, that's it. Like, dude, you have something against me. I mean, first you tell me you are white male telling me, a black woman, I asked you for a drink, you gave me a drink, and you tell me stay out of jail. I actually sat in that room for about 20 minutes to observe if this guy was saying the same thing to everybody. And he didn't. At least in the 20 minutes that I sat there watching and observing him, he didn't say anything to anybody. And then now you're telling me you're just glad to know that it really is my phone, with such skepticism in his voice. Now, natural instinct, I was fuming, but also knowing myself, I don't want to create a scene so that I don't fit into another stereotypical, you're just an aggressive, angry black woman. I walked out of the room. I went to some of my colleagues and I said, hey, let me run this story by you. What do you think? My manager flipped. She was like, that's downright racism right there. And I said, you know what? Before we go in there and create a storm, can I try a different approach? And she said, fine, you do you, but when you're done, we're still going to have to call him out for this. And so I went back to this man and I said to him, I said, look, here's what you said to me, and here's what it sounds like. You seem like a nice person. I'd like to think that you're not singling me out and racially profiling me and saying those things to me. And he was shocked. Like, no, long story short, after I couple back and forth and helping him see, and then some other persons came into the room and I narrated to them what had happened, and they were like, oof, that sounds wrong. And then he saw for himself what that came off as and what that sounded like. And he was, very bitter about it for himself. My higher ups heard about the story. They came to me and said, oh, well, we're grateful for how you handled that. Thank you. And I made sure I gave him a good lecture on appropriateness of words and impact, and knowing how to look at the audience you're speaking to and maybe determine if you need to change up something about the way you're expressing. It turns out that, what he had said to me about stay out of jail is something that is tied to an historic experience that is tied to that room. Now, I can excuse him on that, but it doesn't excuse him on the one about my phone and the comment that he made. So, which tells me that intrinsically there was something about him that, was sort of racist, but even he did not realize that, right? So, there was self awareness lacking there. Now, at the end of the day, I was told that where that event had held, right? The organization, again, we're not naming names because it's not about who did what, but the organization there, went on to, reform some of their policies. They had some trainings with their employees and, taught them, because again, most of the crowd that visited that place were predominantly Caucasian white Canadians, right? And so hearing that alone, I felt like that was very impactful, as opposed to just, yelling, and bringing the roof down in that place. Now, I shared this story to tell you what my biggest lessons have been on how to navigate racism in Canada so that it does not get in the way of what you do. And that's number one, call it out. Truth be told, there are a lot of people like that man who I realize that are ignorant racists. That's what I call them. They're ignorant racists. It's just, they don't even realize it, right? But maybe because they're lacking in knowledge of some of the history and the implication of that history, right? So they don't know. They just say and do what they're told. He was just doing what he was told to do. Now, nobody told him to tell me it really is your phone, but I mean, the first piece of it, he really was just doing what he was told to do. There's actually an historical implication to that room and to the statement that he made. But again, I don't think even they thought it through, because if they understand the history and the side of the history they were on versus the side of the history that people that look like me would have been on when that event took place, they would have known better to not even recreate that kind of history. And I really hope they took that down, in addition to all the reforms that they made. So call it out. Now, if I never called it out with that guy, that organization will keep doing things like that until maybe one day, who knows what will come of it, right? So call it out. You'll be doing not just yourself, but somebody else, maybe, the huge favor of winning somebody over as an ally. So call it out. Please do not be quiet on it. Now, which brings me to the second thing: call it out strategically and in the most peaceful, mature way possible. Now, the story that I shared when I first answered this question at the youth group was the story of the first experience that I had, where somebody outrightly called me all sorts of unspeakable names. Now, I was cool with the customer because that was at a where I was, offering services. I was cool with the customer, but I flipped on my manager big time to say, you stood there, you watched this happen, and in hindsight, I realize now that that manager may not have been racist, may not even have really fully understood the impact of what was going on. And maybe the same way we're able to trigger some changes in this other organization, we might have been able to trigger better changes in the other organization as well. And so you want to call it out in a way that you're assertive, you're firm, you don't let anybody shut you down, and you communicate the message, say, this is wrong and I'm calling it out, but I'm hoping that you do something and do better with it. And if need be, stepping to help to say, here are some ideas of how you can do better. I know I did that with this, the place where I called it out with this other man, and I told him, I say, here are some ideas, based on the work that I do. Here are some things you can do to help your employees be more sensitized about these things and help you be better. So call it out strategically, but call it out in the most peaceful, mature way that you can call it out. That's number 2. So never be quiet, call it out, but be peaceful about it. Number 3 is always seize every opportunity to educate. Like I said, this man was an ignorant racist, and that's the truth. Not everybody is trying to be racist towards everybody. That's the truth. Some people don't even realize the impact of their actions. Like, even for yourself, think about it. I was having a conversation with somebody recently, and then he was sharing about how, by the way, you know yourself, so I'm sorry, I didn't want to just throw you into my story. And then he was sharing about how he used to be in a different country where they didn't speak English. And, he left because he just couldn't deal with the challenges and cope, and sometimes he felt a little too much, right? And this person is from a tribe that is one of the 3 main tribes in Nigeria, which is where I'm partly from. I'm Nigerian Canadian, which is where I'm partly from. And as I was talking, I said, that reminds me of something. Do you know who that reminds me of, or what kind of people that reminds me of? And it was like, come on, stop it. And I said, no, sometimes we honestly do not realize the impact of our actions on other people. But we all remember the impact of their actions on us. My husband would always say, we tend to judge people by their actions and judge ourselves by our intentions, right? So in calling it out and doing all of that, seek to educate. Because if you come across somebody who is ignorantly racist, right, you would have helped them to even become allies, because now they know better. They can also call other people to order, and, it continues as a chain, right? So call it to order. Number 4, do not assume a stance of everybody's racist. This one is very key, because I find that we will do ourselves disservice if we go about just assuming people will be racist towards you because they have a different skin color, or that somebody will be discriminatory towards you because you're not the same gender, or that somebody will be discriminatory towards you because you don't speak the same language, right? If you assume everybody has the best intentions towards you and deal accordingly, now you're also protecting your personal peace by taking that stance. Because if you don't settle it in your mind, and which probably maybe even ties to number 5, which is racism would exist, deal with it, accept that. There will always be people who will refuse to be educated. There will always be people who will refuse to see you for who you are, human being, period. There will always be people who will think that you don't deserve something because you don't look like them, or you don't have the same genitals, in your system, whatever. There will always be people like that. But the truth is that, are you going to let those people continually dictate how you act and react in life? or are you going to be the bigger person and rise above them? Right? So when you take a different stance to say, I'm just going to do my best and deal with you in the best of intentions, when they're not, when they're racist, then it's easier to see versus when you're, just assuming. If not, you'll interpret everything through that lens, and you might find yourself in more deep waters of trouble than you intend to find yourself. So take a stance and assume the best of everyone, so that you're even with a clear mind and you're not really meaning into things. Truth is that sometimes it might even be racial injustice that they're trying to, do against you, but you're so closed up to it that you don't even see it, and it doesn't affect your mental health. So please take a stance that's, says, so that when you now see the racism, you can call it out and be objective about it. Right? So, which brings me to the other thing, which is, again, like I said before, accept that these things are there. People will be people. There will be good people, there will be bad people. There'll be good people with bad intentions that are specific towards you for whatever reason. And there'll be, people who genuinely just don't even know, right? So, but when you accept that people will be people, it's easier to sometimes even just apply grace, and you can easily determine when to fight and when to just look the other way. Okay. And then the next thing is, which will be number 6, is know your craft. Be excellent at what you do. Be very excellent at what you do. Truth be told, at some point when you have what it takes, nobody will care your skin color. Nobody will. They will learn how to pronounce your name. Whatever your name is, they will pronounce it. The Nigerian name just came out when I said they will pronounce it. Believe you me. Know your craft and be excellent at what you do. Let people know you. My latest addition of Woman Crush is the new CEO to my company where I work at FCC. And I was reading her bio, and I was really intrigued by something that she said when she was describing herself. She said, I'm the person that people call when there are complex problems that they need someone to solve. That's a woman who knows her crafts. And truly, when the need arise, they called her. When there was a need, they called her, right? Because that's a woman who knows her craft. Know your craft. Be excellent at it. Because when the moment comes and that need opens up, and believe you me, it will open up. Nobody, the only thing they'll ask is, who is the person that can solve this for us? Oh, it's Anita? Okay, call her in. In fact, the people who you think are racist will be the ones that will be fighting for you and protecting you. I cannot begin to tell you, times when my name has been spoken for in rooms that I'm not, and it's not people who have the same skin color as I do. Not everybody is a racist. Not everybody is trying to, do you injustice. All right? So, but when you know your crafts, your work will speak for you. The Bible talks about, seest thou a man diligent in his business, he will stand before kings, not mean men. Do you know your crafts? Go and learn. Unlearn, relearn, upskill if you need to. But by all means, know your crafts. Because when the time comes, even if there's nobody to speak for you, your work can and will speak for you. And then finally, be the bigger person. All right? Yes, call it out. Yes, do all of those things. But there are times that you're going to learn how to just look the other way. It's not every fight you're going to take up. I should tell you that. Oh, when it comes to advocacy and fighting, I'm the queen of it. I would. But I'm also learning, and it's a process for me, and I'm in that journey myself to realize that it's not every fight that I'll need to have to fight. All right. So, but there are times that you will just take the high road. All right. What was it that Michelle Obama would always say, that when they go low, we go higher, whatever. Anyway, yeah, we talked about it at the book review yesterday. If you're a lady, honestly, if you're not in Ladies That Rise, I'll drop the subscription link to Ladies That Rise. Please be part of it. And sometimes we have these conversations in the most authentic, honest way that we pour out to each other, and understand one another. So please, I hope that these things would help you, right? Share this video, like this video, comment on it. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Have you experienced racism? How did you navigate that? How did you rise above it? How did you deal with it? What are some things that you've done? And I should also say that this is the extra, the bonus, is that also make relationships outside of your comfort zone. All right? I don't walk downtown over lunch hour because I will greet at least 3 to 4, 5 people. I've literally used my lunch hour greeting people before, and it's all shades of color. I love meeting people. I know it's not easy for everybody, but sometimes when even people want to do things against you, there are other people who can speak up for you. All right. So know people at different places, at different stratas, at different it doesn't have to, they don't always have to look like you, sound like you know, have same color as you. Know people at different places. Anyway, so I hope this video really helps someone. I'd like to hear your thoughts about this. If you have something to share, please share, comment below. And yeah, and if you're not subscribed to my channel yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Like, come on, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so that any and every time that there is a new video, you are alerted and you know what to do. Just hop on. Okay. Anyway, well, be the bigger person and be kind. All right. And I hope that you do have an amazing week. I know I will. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.